How do you feel about death now in your current journey?
It's just part of the cycle. It's a tough one to have a conversation with people because there's so much emotion tied around it, especially if you have people close to you now going through that moment in time. Like having seen it and having held my stepdad's hand as he was transitioning and having been sick for the months prior, you realize, bro, it's just like you're born. Let's talk about that miracle for a second. And then you come here with a contract knowing that at some point you're going to exit that same body. What I find weird is that we don't embrace it more, right? It's almost like death has become this thing that happens behind closed doors. You know, we're the old people. You don't see them in the streets in Miami. You know, they're no longer inclusive. They're not included anymore. And it's like, oh, they're dying. So they end up in some hospice somewhere behind a door. And if they're lucky, they have a family member there with them when they transition. Instead of this being a collective communal ceremony of like celebration of your life and to guide you there with a smile on your face and a kiss on your forehead. Making them know it's going to be okay. Yeah. I mean, I think they do. Yeah. I think when we all get to that point, there's a moment when you realize, actually, this is great. This is not the thing I thought I needed to be scared of. It's everyone else that is attached still to life and that we need to fight dying that end up having to suffer the most. Yeah, I think a lot of people do get there, unfortunately, though, where they're really scared to leave. They're so attached to this experience, their identity, all the material things, and they don't want to let go of that. But we all have to let go of it. And you brought up an interesting point. We do come into this world with that contract, but we don't think about it a lot. At all. Most of us have never thought about it. Like, yeah, I'm going to die one day. I'm going to have to leave this body, have to leave all the things that I know. Yeah, it's like we put this in this little compartment of something so far in the future. But yeah, it could be today. It could be. Yeah. Also an interesting point, back in time, you were around older people more, part of the tribal nature of living with the elderly. We don't have that today. No, it's so weird, isn't it? Like I grew up, my parents, like yours, got divorced when I was very young. In fact, before I was even one. So my mom, being a young 25-year-old single mother at the stage, moved back in with her parents. And my grandparents were very well set up. You know, they had both had great careers. They were both retired. They had a beautiful house. They had already raised 6 kids. So for them to bring my mom back into the house and for me to be there was just easy for them, right? So I ended up in this beautiful situation where I had my uncle, my mom, and my grandparents in the same household. And so I managed to have that. Wow. You know, the abuela and the abuelo taking care of me as well. So I got a taste of that, and that doesn't happen. You don't see it so much anymore. But I think we've lost that. I think European families probably still have that. You know, Italians and Greeks seem to still have multi-generations living, if they're not in the same house, then the houses are close together. And I was saying to Andrea the other day, it would be like really nice right now to have our parents close by where they could help us, right, you know, with our child. But yeah, it's just different. How do you think about death now and crossing over? I don't think I'm scared of it. I've like really figured out like what is the emotion attached to, like if it had to happen today, like let's say you did get a notice and you're like, hey, listen, at 2:00 something's going to happen, and you exit in. Fuck, what are you going to do with these last couple of hours? You know, I would, at this stage, I'd be like, whoa, hang on a second. I haven't done everything I want to do in this life. Like, I love this life. So I don't know if that's attachment or just the fact that I get it. Like, wow, there's so much that I still want to squeeze out of the experience. My narrative, my story, my understanding of what life is probably has changed a lot. You know, it used to be this linear thing. You're born, you got to be good, and if you're bad, then at the end, you're either going to heaven or you're going to hell. Like, and that's it. But now this whole thing of reincarnation and cyclical experiences and having to learn lessons and karma and that whole sort of story, I feel has become a lot more sort of real in my mind. And having had past life experiences, like actual past life images and stories to help me understand what's going on in this life, completely changed that whole linear view to, hang on, there's more to this, and that probably we've lived multiple lives. I want to get into that. Let's talk about some past life experiences, because I'm fascinated by that. Have you ever done one? A regression? I've never done one. I want to do one with Andrea for sure. We've talked about it. I've always had a feeling like I've had past lives, but I've never had
a moment, other than one moment, where I really was like, oh, I think this was a past life. I had a moment where I was on a little THC dose, and I went very deep into a breathwork meditation session. I was doing really long breath holds. And it got to the point, because I was under the influence of a little THC, where I was really able to push the limits. And I remember like that feeling of like, oh, like I'm getting close, right? Like I would never let myself get there. I would pull myself out, but it was that feeling of, this is what it feels like to not have oxygen come in. And that alarm really starts going off. And that alarm was so familiar. I was like, whoa, I feel like I've for sure, this soul has experienced that. I don't know what timeline, I don't know what life, but that feeling of really needing air and not being able to get it, and then ultimately having to let go, was like really present. And someone could say, oh, maybe you thought that feeling was familiar, but it was definitely a knowing for sure. It felt like a knowing.
Yeah, and why not? Why wouldn't that be somewhere in either our direct experience or the genetic shared experience of being human? That's, that intelligence, that information you accessed at that point was a memory or an experience that absolutely has been lived, right? Because it has.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that perspective. That's just information that we have stored somewhere.
Yeah. Where does water come from?
The sky.
Okay, where did that water come from?
I don't know.
So I don't know why, but it seems relevant to like sort of talk about this. I watched this documentary, and it was Will Smith, and he's talking about this stuff, and they're like, oh, so the theory is that water that exists on planet Earth and that we have found on other planets actually came from, at some point, a frozen astro sort of, meteor field, came racing from some deep part of space. And then while these rocks were forming in the solar system, they collided. So some of these massive giant pieces of ice, collide, they melt, and then gravity holds onto it. So that's where that water probably came from at some point in history.
It's crazy to think about.
And to think that now what they find is that in one drop of water can hold way more information than even the most like advanced silicone chips right now. So we don't even understand water and what it has inside of it. But now we're made of 70% water, or maybe even more. And so that same water that arrived here billions of years ago, somewhere from deep in space, carrying information with it, genetic code, is now what we have become in this little concoction here on Earth, right?
Through evolution.
Activated by the sunlight and everything else. And part of that code is expressing itself in all of its different life forms. But basically what the water that's in each of our bodies right now is probably circulated through plants, through dinosaurs, and then has come from somewhere even older and vaster and more complex than we can possibly imagine, bro. So I like to think every time I do a deep psychedelic journey, what you're doing is the opportunity to tap into some of that information that is inside of us. And so the things that we're seeing, those entities, those beings, those shapes, are probably from that deep, dark part of space where something even more extravagant exists.
Yeah, that's fascinating to think about. What do you think psychedelics are? I've always been so curious about that. Having psychedelic experiences, like what is that realm that we go to? And I always think, why, like the information is here, right? Those experiences are here. So I would believe that there's a reason that they're here. The fact that you can eat a few mushrooms and it takes you to that place, or drink some ayahuasca, which is a plant and a root, right?
Yeah. The leaf and a vine.
And it takes you there?
It's wild, eh?
It's very wild.
It's like this beautiful, like the body is like an apparatus, right? And we have eyes and we can see a certain frequency of the light field and we can hear certain vibrations, but they're very limited, right? And they're limited for a reason, because that gives us this experience. So, this table, we see it as solid. If we saw it at a different vibration, we would see through it, which sometimes on these deep, like ayahuasca, I remember looking through my arm and seeing the person perfectly normal on the other side, because I believe what psychedelics do is they change the aperture so that your receptors are picking up the different frequency. And that's why everything looks different and sees different. Suddenly you see things breathe in, whereas in your regular state, it's just tuned differently. So I don't know, psychedelics are this incredible thing that give us it's almost like coming to a camera and just changing the aperture slightly and like, oh, look at it, now I can see it differently. And we get to think differently, see differently, hear differently, feel differently. Yeah.
That's a good analogy, changing the aperture for sure.
Yeah. So the stuff is here. We just don't normally see it or feel it in our normal state.
Why do you think people are so scared to try psychedelics?
It's a good question, eh? We were talking about this earlier. I don't know. I think part of it, like if I explain some of my stories to friends that have not yet done it, I get the sense that they're like, oh, what do you mean your life is different? And they can see it. Like my life definitely has radically changed. I've like, what I like changes. The people in my life have changed. What used to motivate me doesn't motivate me anymore. And I think they look at that and they're like, wow, you're so different than you were 5 years ago. And you're telling me that if I try it, there's a chance that I'm going to be very different 5 years from now. And I think some people just don't want change.
Yeah, change can be uncomfortable, can be scary.
Yeah.
A lot of times with change, there's growth and evolution and also hardship sometimes as well.
Yeah. And some people maybe they came with the mission for this life just to stick to one lane. I don't know. That's not me. I like change.
Me too. I love change.
Evolution is good, you know?
I'm still scared sometimes going into an experience where I know there will be change, but
sure,
that's part of it. Stepping towards the fear, not away from it.
Right. Andrea always has this saying. She's like, change is inevitable, but you got to ask yourself, are you choosing to go with change or are you resisting change based on fear or inspiration? So like, is the fear holding you back from making those changes, taking the action that you want to do? Is it from fear? Or are you that excited about the next thing that is motivating you to make the change? And sometimes people just need that reminder, like move from inspiration, move from excitement, because what looks terrifying right now is probably amazing on the other side.
Yes. And it's usually one of those two things, which is pushing us towards change. It's so bad right now, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Or there's a deep desire. Yes. I want this. I don't have this.
Yes.
I know I need to step into that to get this.
Yeah. And you see that often, right? Like when people have been resisting change, they know that they needed to change. Eventually, life just kicks you in the bum and is like, dude, if you're not going to do it,
we're going to force you.
We're going to blow something up so that you have to move, right?
Absolutely. What was I know you guide people through Bufo ceremonies now. That's part of your work here.
Yes.
What was your first experience with Bufo like? If your idea of a wellness routine is a second cup of coffee and telling yourself you'll meditate, I've been there. What if I told you there is a better way? House of I Am is a mushroom brand built around one core idea, helping you feel more like yourself. Whole fruiting body mushrooms, small batch, precisely dosed. Not the mystery supplement where you flip the bottle over and you can't pronounce any of the ingredients. These are thoughtfully sourced by people who take this very seriously. A couple with 20 years in the space who built this because they believe in the medicine, clarity, mood, presence, and a deeper connection to yourself. That's what they're going for. Check them out at iamthemedicine.me/The Shuman Show. Again, that's iamthemedicine.me/The Shuman Show. And use code The Shuman Show for 10% off all orders.
Like, honestly, that was the most... If there's like one point in my entire life, someone said to me, if all you took with you was one moment in your life from this experience that you could remember or want to take with you, it would be that moment. I came about it very like sort of happenstance. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. It was December 2019. And she was like, Ryan, I've done this amazing thing. There was a shaman from Mexico and she didn't do a great job of explaining her experience, but I could see there was like this twinkle in her eye. And something in me was just like, okay, I want to do this. How do I do it? And literally while we were having coffee, she was like, no, he's doing a ceremony in January in Mexico on the beach, 11th of January at 11:11. And I was like, say no more, I'm there. So
all the signs.
Booked my ticket right there and then. And that was like, 6 weeks from now. So I completely forgot about it. And I really didn't do my research. And I'm a little bit crazy that way because I like to go with the flow and I don't want to like let other people's opinions of things taint the expectation that I go with. So I went with no expectation without really knowing what to expect. And in January 2020, I was sitting on a beach with Madhu, who became my teacher. And 8 other people. No one spoke English. So I was like just watching to see what to do and how things were going to go on. But anyway, the long and the short was we actually ended up doing Kambo and Changa and Bufo. He serves these things together. You first purify the body, cleanse it out with the Kambo. And then, you know, once your body is clean and clear, then the idea is that Bufo takes you to that space of unity, consciousness, God connection. And I had no idea what to expect, except that when we sat, he makes you read a prayer, the universal prayer of healing. And as I'm reading the words, suddenly like all my fears started to dissipate, because at first I was like, what the hell am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
And just speaking to God and talking about forgiveness and asking for healing of mind, body, and spirit, I just like burst into tears. And I was like, oh my God, like this is clearly a deep spiritual moment I'm about to have. And then as I'm inhaling it, but like I come to recognize it now as a samadhi moment. And not everybody gets this in their first experience. I think I was very lucky to have it with Bufo in that first experience, but I literally had a millisecond, a kiss of merging with God. And it's so intense, that samadhi, that absolute moment of nirvana is so like unreal. It's like if you had to collapse everything that ever existed, every experience, every emotion, every person, and put it together on a screen and run it at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then just collapse it into the perfect second of what life is, that was it. And I just remembered like my whole body just convulsed, and I was just like, from like this deep primal rut, just, I don't know what I did. I don't know whether I vomited or but I just exploded into 1,000,000 pieces, bro, and disappeared from consciousness. And that was my first experience.
Wow. Chills. And what does that process look like? Because the experience itself is pretty short. I mean, I'm sure time doesn't exist in that realm.
Yeah.
You don't have an understanding or an awareness of time, but what is that process integrating that, right? And then also just even coming back after having that moment of pure bliss and nirvana.
So on the outside, the arc of a Bufo journey looks something like you start inhaling, it binds to your receptors almost immediately. Within 3-4 seconds, as you're inhaling, you start to feel the shift. And as it's binding to all your 5-HT receptors, like there's an auditory shift, there's a visual shift, and things start to like brrr and collapse.
That's the craziest part to me, how quick it is.
How quick.
There's nothing else that's that quick.
No, it's unreal. It's like, before you even know it, you're like, oh shit, I can't resist this because it's already taken me.
Wow.
So the arc is very fast acting in you. Once you're holding it, you basically start to disappear. It's almost like like everything fades into the background. So any voices or music or any guidance you're receiving, it's almost like they're disappearing. And then there's like this moment of peace for maybe a minute or two. Most people will be like quite still on the outside. And then there's a rising of energy. And it doesn't happen with everybody, because everyone's process when you're looking at it from the outside is different. Some get very dynamic. So there's this part after the first initial take where the energy can really start to shift and move through your body. And if people have stuff that they need to release in their tissue, we talk about trauma being stored in your tissue, then people can like have these massive explosions, and that can look like rolling around. It could be a deep scream. It could be like thrashing around. And so that energy gets to run. And so, it's all this stuff that we've been suppressing with our mind, telling ourselves stories of why not to look at it. And when the mind's not there, your body's natural intelligence gets an opportunity to purge.
It knows what to do in that
scenario. It knows what to do in that moment. It's like all of those years that you have not been expressing yourself, not running the energy, not expressing your anger, your grief, whatever it is. It's like, here's the moment. And that's why people feel so much lighter afterwards. And it's like having psychotherapy for 30 years boiled into 10 minutes. And you don't even know what you let go of. And you don't need to know. The fact is that you feel better, and that energy doesn't run anymore. So there's a dynamic moment, and that can last maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And then you normally end up in a very deep theta state of like deep relaxation. You'll notice then people like fully decompress, and the body is just completely like melted, and the deep breathing starts to happen, the diaphragmatic. And then slowly but surely, as the medicine starts to get metabolized, then the senses start to switch back on. And for me, it was the coming back that was also like the thing that shifted my understanding of the world a lot, because I was broken into 3 parts as I was coming back. I had my voice, which I believe was my soul. It was probably ejected from the body for a moment, coming back. And it was like, Ryan. And I could hear my voice calling me, Brian. I'm like, hang on a second, who's that? That sounds like me.
I know this voice is familiar.
Where are you? Like literally, it was asking me, Ryan, where are you? And then this other part of me, this other aspect of me that's laying there, that's now hearing myself breathe, is like, oh, hang on a second, that's me. And now that's me hearing me.
That's almost like the seat of consciousness, right?
Right.
Behind looking at the situation and be like, oh yeah, that's my voice. That
Correct.
can't be you if you're the one sitting behind the audience. Wow.
So, instead of like just reading about it in a book, that we are not, we're not who we think we are the consciousness behind the identity. And then suddenly like merged. And then I was like, okay, I can't feel my body, but I can hear myself breathing. And then I could suddenly start to move my hands, and I was like, oh yes, okay, remembering, that's right, I'm on a beach. Okay, that's sand. Oh, I could start to hear the music in the background and the birds. And then I'm like in such a deep state of relaxation. And the vision that I had right there was like I was on this beautiful sandy beach, either sunrise or sunset, but it was like the sky reflected on the sand. And it was so beautiful and peaceful that part of me was like, dude, you could just stay here. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good here. Do I want to stay here? It's like, no, but what about, don't you want to go back? Your mind starts to switch on, right? And then it was like,
what about all the things you have to do?
Yeah, like you don't want to die yet, like, yeah, this is cool, but like, you love your life too, And I was like, maybe if I just open my eye just to check, like, am I still there? Like, I remember just opening my eye and looking up in the palm tree, but at that stage, everything was still pixelated, and I could just see like the binary code, just all like literally like in the Matrix, when you see that, but the palm tree had its own beautiful code, and it was all moving down the trunk, and the sky was fully like broken up into code. And then I look over, and Madhu's over there, and he's about to serve somebody else, and he like looks over and he winks at me, and I was like, we had this telepathic communication for a second, and it was almost like, now you see, now you get it. And I believe that was the moment that like where my mind actually opened to the possibility that everything is possible, bro.
Yeah, because I guess, at least from my experience with psychedelics, when you have an experience like that, you start to question what is reality. I mean, we have this concrete idea of what we think reality is, but then you have an experience like that and you're like, maybe I don't really know what reality is. Maybe none of us really know what this thing is.
Yeah, maybe it's a reality. That's the way I like to think of it. Infinite sea of realities, multiple dimensions, multiple times. Maybe we're living multiple lives in parallel dimensions. I mean, all of it's possible.
Yes.
Right? Like, how many times have you thought about making a decision and then actually painted the picture of you going down that road? What would my life look like? Maybe there's a part of you that, as you said, that signal into the field, that actually takes a life of its own.
I had one mushroom experience where it was full ego death, and I was convinced that I had died, that I killed myself. And I was like thinking about my mom and my dad and friends at the time and all these things. I was like, I can't believe I'm never going to see them again. And I was just so not ready to let go of Drew, because I had the fear of I didn't do all the things that I wanted to do and that I felt like I was supposed to do in this experience. And I was like, no, I know I had to go at some point, but I wasn't ready to go yet. Not now. And when I came back from that, it felt like, it really felt like it felt so real, that death, that ego death, that I almost, a part of me was thinking, maybe I woke up in a different timeline. Like maybe I actually did die in that life, and then this was my funnel into this timeline, which is also happening at the same time, which if you've never done psychedelics, this sounds insane, but it feels so real that you really question these things.
Yeah. Do you feel that experience, did you change how you started behaving and like interacting with your parents since then? Like how much of that knowingness in that moment when you realize like, no, there's still more I need to do?
It changed a lot for me in that moment. I had never been so grateful in my entire life to just be living and be experiencing, and felt so much gratitude for opportunity. Like I had this opportunity to be a human and do things and go after what I want. Like that is the biggest blessing anyone could ever ask for. But I will say in time that kind of faded, right? I had it for a while, and then you get into your routines, you get into life, and you forget about that experience. But I'm sure on a subconscious level and a cellular level, that's still in there, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the part, like, you know, people talk about getting onto a loop of coming back to psychedelics time after time, like people coming back, I want another ceremony, I want another this. We did a sound journey with psilocybin and MDMA, which was incredible. It's a 6-hour sound journey with a guy called David, incredibly talented musician, like plays every instrument you can imagine. He takes you on the 6-hour sound journey. Oof. And I remember the Dharma talk ahead of time, or I can't remember if it was before or after the time. It was the hardest thing to do is take the deep understandings and knowings and the lessons that you get inside of a trip, and then bring those moments of clarity back into your real life or into this reality, and then just move that one moment at a time along. And
that's the goal, right?
That's the goal.
That's the goal, because you see it all the time with people going back to ceremony, going back to that experience, but then they're not implementing the wisdom and the information they got in that experience. So
yeah,
what was really the point of...
Yeah. And that's really, I think, where I'm finding, you know, after like 6 years of now guiding, is trying to like speak to people before and after to catch that. Like what was that moment of like deep understanding that you got where you came out and you were like, I get it. I know what I need to do now. And then trying to encourage them to do that, to actually, sometimes it's a conversation you got to have. Sometimes it's that really hard decision and action you have to take, but to then have the courage and the balls to go and do it. Because otherwise then, yeah, you lose the point of it.
You do. And as we said, we're all going to cross over at some point, and this thing is short.
This thing is short.
Yeah, it goes quick.
So short, bro.
It goes quick. I talked to my pops about this, and he's 67, God bless his soul. And, you know, he says the older you get, the faster it goes.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think there was a study about this that was referenced. There's actually a psychological reason why it feels like it's going faster as you get older. I forgot what it was, so I will not quote it on this show and be torn up in the comments.
You got it all wrong.
Yeah, but if we find the study, I will pin it in the episode.
Yeah, it's super. It does feel like a flywheel. Like, what am I now? I'm 15 years older than you. It does. It feels like the years suddenly are a lot shorter. I remember being, I can't remember if it was like maybe 6 or 7 years old, on a playing some sport at school, and I was like, oh, it's March, you know, and like, wow, this whole year we've got so much to do. But someone explained it to me. It was like, well, it's just like it's a ratio. You know, when you're 5 years old, 1 year is 1/5 of your life. It's massive, you know. But when you get to 45, 1 year is only 1/45 of your life. So now suddenly like little sliver.
It's crazy to think about it like that. We've talked about this, so we know we're going to cross over at some point, and we both have ambitious goals. And I find myself in this loop a lot where it's the trap of, oh, I'll be happy when I get there, right? There are all these big goals that I want to get to. I want to have one of the biggest podcasts in the world, this huge media empire, all these things. And I'm so focused on building that, which is beautiful, but also finding joy while I'm doing that, right? Finding joy and presence where I'm currently at. Because when we get to that point, there's going to be another mountaintop you're looking at. And that's hard for me sometimes, to find that joy in the present moment, in the present experience.
Where does your mind go to when you're not finding joy? Like, when are you analyzing, like, let's say the podcast goal. What are you doing when you sit and you go, shit, I haven't done 3,000 yet, or I'm not as big as I want to be yet?
Yeah, I guess a feeling of not good enough. I'm not working hard enough. I could be doing more, comparison to other people. Really thinking so much and putting so much of my energy of like, how do I get there? right? Which I guess you can enjoy that, but it can be hard to enjoy that sometimes.
How many have you done now?
This is going to be 19.
19.
19. Let's go.
19. So your Drew from, how long ago did you start?
In October.
Already in October, 19.
Yeah.
So the Drew from not so long ago that had 0 under his belt, oh shit, dude, he's giving you a high five.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, he's pretty proud of that guy.
You're doing it, bro.
Yeah.
You're doing it. And I think every person that you look at and you're looking up to, and it's like, that's where you're going to get there. If you just keep, it's funny how the weeks and the months, they add up, accumulation. It doesn't feel like a lot until suddenly you look at it over a period of time. It's like, oh shit, come a long way. It's like your acorns.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. There's that famous quote. I think Hormozi said it, talking about we overestimate what we can do in 1 year and we severely underestimate what we can do in 10 years. We always want the quick results. We want the quick hit.
That's it, bud. And there's always going to be someone doing something greater. It's further along the path than us. In every field we endeavor to pursue. How
do we cultivate more joy and presence in this experience on a day-to-day basis?
Dude, for me personally, I think slowing down. Slowing down. It's like, speed. Part of me likes speed. I want to get things done now. But then Andrea's like such a great reflection for me, because having her in the house, she takes time to integrate her day. And her form of integration is using Instagram as a way to share her story. So everything that she's captured during the day, all the beautiful places she's been to, or the little conversations she's had, or the little lessons she's learned, she spends a bit of time in the evening and she puts it all together on a story, and she, her little quotes, and then she'll watch it a few times. I'm like, babe, what are you doing on Instagram still? She's like, I'm integrating my day. And that's what she's doing. So she's capturing everything that she's done that day. And if you had asked me, how was your day? I'll be like, yeah, it was cool. What did you do this morning? I'll be like, hang on a second. Let me think. Fuck, I can't even remember.
I do that all the time. I don't remember.
Right.
Anya will ask me all this, like, how was your daytime? It was good. It was good. She's like, what'd you do? I'm like, I don't know, like calls and to-do lists, and I put up Instagram posts and got this podcast set up, close the merchant account, but you don't really remember what you did in the day.
Yeah.
Wow. If you own a business and you're accepting credit cards, I'd bet money you're overpaying by at least 1% on your credit card processing fees. Most business owners have no idea what their actual processing rates are. Here's why it matters. At any real volume, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, that 1% is thousands of dollars a year sitting on the table. Benchmark payment networks will pull your statement, analyze your statement, and show you exactly how much money you can save. Full transparency, this is actually my business, so I'm not just reading copy. I know the team, I know how they operate. You're not getting routed to some overseas call center. You're not waiting 3 days for someone to call you back. You have an issue, we are on it that day. If you're processing real volume and you're scaling your business, this is a conversation worth having. Go to bpnprocessing.com. Again, that's bpnprocessing.com, and mention the Shuman Show when you reach out.
My friend Gareth, he's actually an amazing coach. He does this thing, he recommends this thing called a pre-game and a post-game, beginning of day, end of day. And the pre-game is, okay, what is the intention for today? Like, what do I want? And then you're like, oh, I've got a meeting at 9 a.m. and stop for a moment and think, how do I want that meeting to go? Okay, I want to show up calm. I want the person sitting opposite me to be open and willing to do business with me. The outcome is going to be this, this, and this. And then he anchors that in. And then he'll go through his day like that. That's his pre-game. So like you're doing your miracle morning at the moment, all your things, that's part of his setup. It's like the bookmark. And then he'll go through his day, and then he's carved out specific time at the end of the day to do a post-game. Okay, how did my day go? And then he'll reflect from his morning to his evening and what actually happened during the day. And he says that practice is helping him not only remember, but also to start to be super grateful for the things that he's manifested during the day, starting off with intention, finishing up, seeing where the deltas and the differences were. How could he have done better? What did he miss out on? What has he still got to be so grateful for? Yeah, and just
I love that.
Nice little practice.
And then when you had the intention and you actually manifested something and got something important done, it's more evidence for you to be like, oh, I can do this. And remembering that evidence of like, oh yeah, I had that win yesterday. I know I'll get another win tomorrow, and then another win the next day.
because we do. We got wins every day. All
And we
of
don't
us. And we don't
celebrate them.
celebrate them, bud. We don't celebrate them, man. And so we just keep looking.
Because our mind's always like more. Yeah. It wasn't a big enough win, or I need another win. Instead of being like, dude, you gotta win. Be happy about that win. Well, we're gonna give you another win.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this quote up that you said. If you're not happy with your life circumstances at any age, it's okay to hit the reset button. I love that one. You want to elaborate on that guy?
I remember saying that guy was like, what is he, 38 maybe at the time? It was a conversation with another friend of mine, and we were talking about, I'd had a nervous breakdown when I was 34 in South Africa. I'd been running a business with a friend of mine for about 4.5 years. We're in our 5th year. And in the beginning, it was like the naive excitement of starting a business, not thinking about, is this a business that I find passion in? It was like, we're gonna buy trucks, and we're gonna get business, we're gonna distribute people's products, we're gonna build a warehouse, we're gonna employ more people, we're gonna grow, and we're gonna make money. Cool. Not thinking like, what the fuck do you know about trucks?
But you knew one thing, you wanted to make money.
Exactly, dude. And then instead you end up not making as much money as you think you are going to, and you're working way harder than you think, and you're actually not building a lifestyle that you want because you're at work all the time. And you're just pouring more of yourself into it, and then you realize, actually, this is the only positive here is that you're generating jobs for other people, and yes, you could find some purpose in that. But you don't like fielding calls at 3:00 in the morning from a truck that's broken down, and you're tired of fighting with, buyers at supermarket groups that are trying to nickel and dime you for every percentage of your product. It's like, that's not what you came here for. And I ignored that message that my soul was already giving me probably 2 years into it. It was like, dude, maybe you took a wrong step here. Ignored it. No. Building something. No, this is important, And eventually, I think when you go along the path long enough where your soul wants to go here, but you're forcing it to go here, there's friction.
Massive amount of friction.
And that shows up in your nervous system. And that shows up as anxiety and anger and frustration and tiredness and not being happy in your relationships. And everything starts to get poisoned by that friction.
Because your soul is not in alignment.
Correct. And your soul tells you. Your soul knows. It's like, dude, wake up, and it's giving you signals all the time. But some of us are just so hard-headed. And I was so hard-headed for so long that eventually the nervous system packed in and I just couldn't get my head off the ground. And so that was a moment when I was like, I can't do this anymore. And a friend of mine, who's a doctor, was like, Ryan, listen, I've seen this in people. It's called burnout. And if you don't change your life, whatever's causing this right now in you, if you don't make radical change, it'll take you years to recover. And I was like, oh, fuck, well, I better do something now. And I went and pulled the hand grenade. I went and sat with my business partner. I was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. Broke up with the girlfriend, packed my bags, left the house. It was desperation. I made a lot of nonsensical decisions in that moment, but I needed to come up for air. And so literally that was my moment of hitting the reset. And the only way I knew how to reset was just to blow everything up. I needed to restart from scratch. A couple of months down the line, I ended up packing what I had left, which was literally a little backpack. And I came back over to the States, and luckily my other very good friend that I was working with in the cruise ship industry before I left the first time offered me a job to come back. And so I flew back over to the States with a backpack and maybe $5,000 in debt on my credit card at 34, bro. You can't imagine a worse situation. But I was the fucking happiest I've ever been, bro.
Wow.
It was like, I'm free. I'm free. I can breathe. I don't have all this my soul was like, you're not doing what you shouldn't be doing and you feel great. And so I think that lesson taught me everything is always going to be okay and your future self will figure it out. But now I really start to check in with myself. Is what I'm doing in alignment with how my soul feels? How does it feel in my body? Do I feel tightness? Is my breathing telling me something? Am I psychologically straight? Whatever those messages are. And then ask myself, really the decision maker is peace, right? Does this feel peaceful? And if the answer is yes, that's probably the direction to go. And so that's how I'm navigating my life at the moment.
I love that, using our intuition as an internal compass. We all have that. I think the problem is a lot of people suppress that for various reasons. I mean, and maybe at some points of our journey, there is some positive use case to suppress the internal compass. Maybe not. Maybe some people figure it out earlier and they always just follow that internal compass and it gets them to exactly where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you take with you is you must remember as you go on, and I'll try to keep this in my mind as I get older, is that what you carry with you is the most important asset, which is you have now experience. And that experience is such a valuable tool, you know? And so it's not like you're starting at 21 again, where you still don't really know what the world's about. You like to think you know everything, right? But you actually,
you don't know shit.
You have nothing, right? You know, you've seen the world, you've met a lot of different people, you definitely have experience in many different, you know, aspects of life or work or business that you carry with you, and that makes you super valuable. You know, so I don't know if there's a certain point in age where probably it's not a good idea to completely blow up your life, but yeah, I think there's beauty in it. There's beauty in it. New beginnings.
Yes.
You know? And then
letting go of certainty, stability, comfort, stepping into the unknown.
Maybe that's needed once in a while. You know, and maybe you don't need to blow everything up, but every day is like a micro beginning. You know, you don't have to behave the same way that you did yesterday. You can have a sleep, which is like a micro death, be reborn this morning, and then choose differently today.
Yeah, your life can literally change in one day. You could fall in love in one day. You could start a business in one day. You can make a shit ton of money in one day.
That's true.
You can lose a shit ton of money in one day.
That's right, man. Yeah. The day is a universe of its own.
Yeah, you can get sick in one day. You can get healthy in one day. You can lose your life in one day.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in one day.
A lot can happen, right? I know it's so cliche. We say that, right? But,
yeah, it's the truth.
Like when you really grasp that, it does make you start to hopefully live more in the moment.
It's all we really have, man. So I have "Be Here Now" tattooed on my arm. The present moment.
How often does that serve as a good reminder for you?
Not enough. Actually, it was so funny. One day I was in USPS and I had to return something. I was like all stressed out. There were some work things going on, and the woman up front at the store could feel my energy, and I'm like kind of a little frantic. And she's like, honey. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, look at your arm. And I look down, I see "Be Here Now," and I'm like, you're right. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all okay.
We're so good.
It's like God winking at me. Like,
yeah, exactly. Your angels were talking through her
like,
to you.
relax. It's okay. Be present. Get out of your head.
We're so good at forgetting, huh?
I know.
You're so good at forgetting.
Yeah. Why do you think we're ultimately here? What do you think our purpose is in the human experience?
Like as a collective?
As a collective and also individually.
I like the analogy of so God, consciousness, which ultimately we are an expression of consciousness, right? It's like, did you ever read The Golden Lake? Golden Lake explains it beautifully. It's like, imagine consciousness is a lake. We, separate souls, coming and having this experience are like a drop out of the lake. So we've separated ourselves from God to be perceived as individual for a moment, but we still carry the aspect of God in us because we're part of, you know, inside we've carried part of the lake in us. And we are all these separate little drops now having our experience. And then when we pass and our soul leaves the body again, we go back to the lake and we carry with us all of the experience and moments from this existence back to the conscious unity field. All that memory, all that experience, which is ultimately what God is doing, is expressing itself by separating parts of itself, like a glove. God sticks a hand through a sheet and now you can see 5 separate fingers, and if each finger looks at itself, it's like, oh, look at you, right? It's like you and me now. We're looking at it, but ultimately underneath the sheet, you're just part of the whole. So I think it's a way for consciousness to be able to recognize and see itself, and then also to play with like a puppet show. What would it look like if I was a bird for a moment? What, you know, all the beautiful aspects of being able to fly and the vision to whatever, hunt a fish or a lizard or eat seeds or fall in love and sing a song and
start a business and have it epically fail and be distraught.
Exactly.
And then start over and crush it and
Yeah.
feel absolute bliss. And
to feel
Yeah.
like the whole spectrum of just emotion, like, wow, bro. Like,
that's
isn't
always
that
what
beautiful?
I've thought, right? Because the other side of the coin is like, well, then why would we even come here, right? Why would we come here to experience pain or heartbreak or loss? Because God wanted to know what that feels like. There is beauty in that, right? To feel those things, because on the other side of pain and heartbreak is love and joy and fulfillment.
Yeah. And
Can't
they're
have one without the other.
And they're all just different degrees on the same spectrum, right? So emotion from like deep grief to like ecstasy, it's like light and dark. It's just, and in between you have all these different like degrees of it. I help a lot of people with Bufo specifically let go enough that they can express the grief. Because they're holding on to so much, and what it shows up with, and this is what I'm learning, is that grief, when you're really sad or hurt about something, that often shows up when you're not dealing with it or haven't expressed it. It shows up as anger. So people that are rageful, violent, on some level they hate someone in their life, it's actually coming from a deep place of grief. And Bufo opens you up in such a beautiful way that often people have full grief breakdowns on the floor. They fully express it. And then what starts to happen is, after they've fully expressed the grief, like the deepest, most beautiful feeling of it, you start to notice the energy shift, and they always end up laughing. And then they feel so ecstatic, because the deeper you go on this side, the higher you can go on this side. And people that are not expressing the deep emotions, what you would call heavy or dark emotions, which are actually beautiful, if you don't go there, you cannot go here. And so that's why people are unhappy in the middle. So if you have not cried recently, probably chances are you have not had a real deep laugh recently either.
So true.
Because they're tired.
I find that with myself, a lot of men, it's hard to get to that point where I'm actually able to let go and cry. I mean, I've gone years without crying, years. I have seen that psychedelics is a tool that will allow me to potentially get there easier. Not saying I can't get there without it, but it definitely helps for sure.
Big time. And that's part of the therapy. That's why they are so therapeutic. And the problem with like pharmaceutical drugs, when people go like with depression or anxiety and then I'll get medicated, it doesn't help you express the emotion that's asking to be expressed. It just numbs you. So it traps you even further, bro.
Yeah.
And I feel that's super sad. So
very sad.
The majority of why this stuff is so powerful and effective is because all you've actually done, those pockets of emotional energy that are stuck in your tissue, asking to be expressed, get to be expressed. And then suddenly you find homeostasis again, you find balance, you find joy again.
And if you do have that sadness, right? We all have trauma and sadness that happens through the human experience. And if you're not able to let it go, what do they say? What we resist persists.
And that's what makes you sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it expresses itself as disease.
The Conscious Bar is chocolate sweetened entirely with dates, 0 added sugar, no artificial anything. The whole bar has 11 grams of fiber, and they've actually had people wear blood sugar monitors while eating the bar, and guess what? No spikes. For chocolate, that's insane. Over 16,000 5-star reviews, USDA organic, and it tastes freaking delicious. Trust me, it's not a health food compromise. It is a health food. The whole idea is that you can indulge on things that are actually good for you, and I am here for it. Check them out at theconsciousbar.co/The Shuman Show. Again, that's theconsciousbar.co/The Shuman Show. And use code The Shuman Show for 15% off all orders. I could go for a good cry. It's been a long time.
You need it.
Yeah.
It's so healing. You know, there's a membrane around your heart. There's a heart cavity. And it becomes toxic over time. And especially if you find this a lot. Like there's a reason why men, for example, suffer heart attack more often than females, because in the male world, it's like, big boy, don't cry.
Yeah.
Big boys don't cry. Like, what are you doing? Like, man up, don't be a pussy, right? So like, what do? We're like, okay, well, I'm angry and I'm upset, but I'm not allowed to express that, so I'm going to hold it. And over time, that toxicity around the heart increases, which eventually causes a heart attack. The mechanism for helping to purify and relieve that toxicity is actually crying. So apparently they're ducts connecting heart and the tear ducts. So when you cry, it's actually your heart purifying that space.
Wow.
And then to go further, you know how people wipe away their tears when they cry, like, I'm sorry, I'm crying?
Mm-hmm.
No, like be thankful, because each of those tears, like we spoke about the water earlier, is carrying so much information, cellular information. And as it runs down your cheek, there are all these nerve endings that are giving your body feedback loops. And what that tear is doing is communicating to where your body needs healing. So when you're crying, let the tears roll and say, thank you for the healing, thank you for the healing, thank you for the healing, bro. The body is perfect, it knows what to do. We just need to allow it.
The natural intelligence, man, it's mind-blowing. I always think about that. I've actually had that on, we keep going back to psychedelics, but some mushroom journeys, well, I'll look at my body, right? Like say my arm, and I see all the blood vessels and like almost on a cellular level, all the things that are happening. And it's kind of freaky. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is a lot. Like this is 24/7 going down. All the things that need to happen for us to maintain this thing. It's beautiful.
What's your connection to God? How's your relationship?
My relationship's really good. I didn't believe in God for a long time, and it wasn't until my first LSD experience, which I actually shared in the podcast when I had Andrea on, that I had that God moment. Because for me, I can't know something. I can't know something for sure until I experience it. So for me, I never had a religious God-like moment. But when I took LSD for the first time, I felt connected to every single thing in the universe. I felt union with whatever that is. And it was so overwhelming. It was so powerful. It was so real, like the realest thing I'd ever experienced, that I couldn't deny it. And I was like, oh, this is what God is. This is what every religion forever has been talking about. This union, this moment, this feeling, this knowing. And that experience was like, wow, God is real. Because, you know, I grew up Jewish, but my parents weren't very religious, and I never, you know, we'd go to temple or do something. I didn't feel that connection. I didn't feel it. I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And once I knew it, I was like, oh, I can't deny that this is real. And then when I started to believe and started to talk to God and cultivate a relationship and pray and ask for things and just have a relationship, right? Say, I'm sorry, I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that, you know, forgive me. My life started to get better, and it continuously has. So maybe it's placebo, but for me, I believe.
Yeah, I really like, I'm bringing that more into the conversation now around people come for help. It's like asking that question, what is your relationship like with whatever your version of God is, right? And I think that's the other thing that's changed for me over the years is I grew up in an Anglican background. Funny story, my dad was adopted into a Jewish household.
Oh, wow.
My mom comes from a English Anglican background. And so my grandparents would take me to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's the narrative of Christianity, right? Like Jesus, you be a good boy, say I'm sorry, and hopefully you get to heaven. But like, oh, Jesus is the only way. No, that's the story you got to believe. Everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
And what I realized, and I hold this deeply as true, is that all of it is pointing to the same thing. Yeah. All of it is. And when you start to see God in everything and you feel God in every moment, that connectedness is what also brings a lot more joy through in your life. And I feel like a lot of people are unhappy also because they don't have a relationship with something, that great aspect, which ultimately is what we are. It's the essence of what we are. It's what's powering the suit of ours.
Yeah. If you're disconnected from that, I mean, how could you really be thriving, right?
You can't operate properly.
Yeah, if that's what we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, religion has so much beauty, but I could never get around the separation piece of it.
Yeah. I feel like it's all a bit distorted.
Yeah.
But I think, you start to see through the noise, and you can start to see the messages differently. Like I read verses now and I'm like, oh no, like now I understand what he's saying, and that's just brought a lot more color and a lot more vibrancy to the message. Yeah, and to see everybody worshiping in their own way and saying, isn't that beautiful that we get to do that?
Yeah. That's one of the most beautiful aspects about religion, right? It is your connection to source, and there's community around it, and so I'm all for that.
Quick one on LSD. I was always scared to do it. for some reason I had this
I was too. So people, it's so scary for so many people. But I'm telling you guys, it's not scary unless you take too much. Then it definitely will be scary.
in the wrong situation in the shopping center.
Exactly.
I think a lot of it was conditioning from when we were at primary school. I remember there had been this huge anti-drug campaign. It was like, if you take LSD, you're going to end up jumping off a building, scratching your skin off. And
that story's been circulating forever. It's
dude.
always like, oh, my cousin's friend's sister took LSD and she was on an apartment and she jumped off. I mean, maybe that has happened, guys, like one time
Sure.
But I mean, that story has been circulating forever.
Yeah.
The same one in a different variant.
It's a good campaign.
It's a great campaign. It scared the shit out of people. Fear is the biggest driver out there.
Big time. Big time. But there was a moment, so me and Andrea did it together for my birthday.
Wow.
And a friend of ours had given us 2 tabs each. And I was like, oh, I don't know if we're going to do this. You know, and a friend of mine was like, make sure you take it early because this thing can run for a long time, you know?
Yeah. Oh, is this your first time doing it?
First time doing it.
Oh, wow.
And so like 3 PM, we were at this beautiful house next to a lake, next to a river. It was like next to a nature reserve.
Yeah.
And we had a kayaks. I said to Andrea, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get the fire set up early. We're going to get in a kayak. We're going to take 1 tab and then we're going to just sort of, feel into it and see how we go. But we're going to start early because I don't want to be, tripping until 3 AM.
Yeah, 100%.
So
adulting.
Adulting. So then we set off on the kayak and it's all beautiful and there's birds and, alligators and turtles. And then, like 45 minutes later, suddenly like both of us have just gone quiet and we're just floating in the river, watching the beauty, seeing the sky reflected in the water, like literally like understanding what the birds are saying. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most incredible beauty experience. So we make our way back and we put the kayak down. I was like, Andrea, let's make the best mistake we've ever made and let's take the second tab. So
bro, that's dangerous too because a tab, you don't know, you don't know what's
you don't know what's in store for you. But we were in a really good environment and a safe space and it was so beautiful out there. But anyway, that was a really life-changing journey for both of us. There were moments in there that were incredible, but the one moment I definitely remember was having this like such a clarity, like such a deep, almost like God explaining what we are in this human suit, and it was so divine. I remember turning around to Andrea and saying, Andrea, if we actually all knew and understood what we are, we would worship each other instead of trying to kill each other.
You hear it all the time. That's why people who've taken psychedelics are always like, I wish some of these politicians, we could just
all need it, bro.
Put a little LSD in there.
They all need it.
Morning coffee.
Yeah, Andrea actually asked me, she was like, if you could get everybody to do one thing in their life, the whole world had to do one thing. Like imagine it was like humanity had a rite of passage that at a certain point in your life, you had to do one thing. How different would the world be if everybody had a moment like what we're talking about where they saw the deeper meaning of it all?
I think it'd be utopia. That's really what
It'd
I think.
Be pretty incredible,
I think it'd be maybe what we one day get to, or
what we're going back to.
Yeah, what we're going back to. Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think when I came out of that first experience, I was young too. I think I was like 23, 24. I was like, just everyone in the world needs to take this. Like, why is this not being distributed like to the masses like candy?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
All the information. But yeah, LSD was always one that I was always scared to do because it just had this really bad rep. Crazy story how that one was also discovered.
Tell me.
Supposedly it was like a scientist. I forgot what he was studying, but he got like I don't even think it was supposed to be psychedelic, right?
And he took it like while he was about to get on his bicycle to go home.
A little bit got under his fingernail. Don't quote us on this. We have to do a little research here, but and it was like a big amount of LSD, right? Because you need such a small amount of LSD to have an experience. And he was biking home and he knew something was off and it was like a 24-hour trip. But he came out of it. It was like the most profound experience he'd ever had. And he was like, wow, we need to like actually study what this is.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Ramdas and his cronies went all out.
Yeah, God.
Did you ever read Becoming Ramdas?
No, I've read some of his stuff, but not that one.
Yeah, definitely worth a read.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like Timothy Leary and Alan Watts, that are all in that same era, in those same circles, like experimenting with philosophy and psychedelics and the 70s culture. Pretty amazing, man.
It was, man. Even some of the business tycoons, man.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them were experimenting with that stuff. And we're able to get really profound business insights. That's what I think is the most powerful thing about psychedelics. Now they've proven that your neurons are communicating, the neural pathways are communicating differently, right? So of course you're going to have all these different downloads and insights because your brain is literally talking to itself in a different way. And I think that is one of the most crucial parts about those experiences. Like, you think about things differently. And sometimes we need to think about life differently.
For sure.
We're always thinking in the same way, in the same patterns, over and over and over again.
Yeah, and your creation of your reality comes from your thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like this, why do I keep doing the same thing? That's because your loop is the same, right? You keep recreating the experience because for that reason, you've just so ingrained that path. You can't create anything different right now. So you need to completely change the pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank God for this stuff.
All right, guys, go take LSD and come report back in the comments. 12 hours later.
Tell me something, your podcast, who are you trying to reach? And what is the deepest sort of meaning, or what do you want people to get out of listening to you doing these? It's like everybody sort of has a different sort of theme.
Yeah.
Or like, what are you going for?
My why is value, man. I want to impact people and give people value, whether that's entertainment, whether that's a good laugh, whether that's resonance. They really resonated with the episode or with something said on the episode, whether they learned something. Podcasts were such a big part of my journey going back. This is always coming back to psychedelics on this episode. I'm not surprised. Coming back to my journey, I started listening to Joe Rogan a lot in my early 20s when I was working in finance and living this life that wasn't really in alignment. And I saw all these other people on his show living really cool, unique lives that I didn't even know existed, right? It was this access. You don't see that in mainstream media. I remember the first time I heard about ayahuasca was some guy on Joe's podcast talking about the life-changing impact it had on him and how he started this business after it. And I was like, what the hell is ayahuasca? I'm like, I want to maybe try that. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing the right thing in life right now, but I also didn't know what I wanted to do in life. So I think podcasts have that ability, right? It's alternative media. And that's important, right?
So important because you get real different aspects.
If you've ever flipped over a protein bar and looked at the ingredients and said, I don't know what any of this is, that's a problem. Most high protein bars hit your macro numbers on paper, but do some real damage underneath. Incomplete plant proteins, synthetic isolates, fillers, syrups, garbage. Engineered to look healthy, not to be healthy. Prima is built differently. 21 grams of complete protein from grass-fed collagen and whey. All 9 essential amino acids. Instead of seed oils, they use grass-fed beef tallow. Instead of syrups and fillers, raw organic honey. 10 real ingredients, 4 flavors. Soft, cakey texture, and, might I add, delicious. I legitimately snack on these all the time. Eat like a primal human. That is the idea. Check them out at eatprima.com/The Shuman Show. Again, that's eatprima.com/The Shuman Show. And use code The Shuman Show 25 for 25% on all orders.
People sharing their viewpoints. And the mainstream media doesn't feed you necessarily a good viewpoint.
No. And it's a very particular viewpoint.
And with a very strong agenda.
Yes.
So to hear amazing people doing different things is such God, what an amazing time to be alive, dude. That we have access to all of this information.
All
that
of it.
You can listen to someone like Joe Rogan who speaks to, every mind in every field.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
It is.
It's unreal. So now you're doing it, man.
Doing it, man. We're here.
Thank
and you're
you.
part of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, brother. Thank you. I want to ask one question about, you're in such a beautiful union with Andrea, who, I love so much and is such an incredible human. What would you tell someone right now who maybe hasn't found their person or is looking for love or wants to be in a beautiful partnership and start a family, right? You guys just had a beautiful baby boy. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, bro. Wow. Talk about like the ultimate medicine, bro. Is having a family and having kids, mate. It's unreal. What can I tell people about it? Well, I spent, like I told you, a big portion of my life traveling, for work. So work was my priority and I would go wherever they pointed me. So living out of a suitcase, great life, fun life when you're single. But of course, deep down inside, we're all looking for love. But it's so nice to have somebody close to you, that you can grow with, relate with, be loved by, get to love.
Experience life with.
So for a long time, I was having great experiences, and I was traveling the world, and I was, eating at fancy restaurants a lot of the time by myself. And eventually that gets tiring, right? But I had created a lifestyle and a mechanism for coping with that, right? Which was being able to attract feminine energy in, connecting, getting a moment of like love or physical, attention, whatever that looked like. But then because I was moving, I had also learned the mechanism of being able to cut and move on without like draining energy on like, oh, I miss that person, la la la. So I was
take out the emotional attachment
with it, right? Which became something I really had to work on, because I was bringing it even when I was ready and I was living on land and I was becoming more stable and I wasn't moving around as much. So I was like, okay, I would love to be in a partnership. Those habits were hard to change, bro.
Yeah.
And every relationship was following the same cycle. It was new relationship energy, hot and exciting, fall in love very quickly, wine, dine, and date and do all the amazing stuff. And then 3 months later, I'm bored of this one, time for a new one, something better out there.
The grass is always greener.
But I would keep saying, no, I'm looking for that. But as soon as it became tricky, it's easier to let it go than to actually work through anything.
Yes.
Because I wasn't ever looking here as the thing I needed to work on. I was like, that person's not fitting what I desire. Their behavior is not acceptable to me. So it wasn't until my friend Gareth, who does a lot of men's work, invited me for a 6-week course that he does called, at the time it was called Solo to Soulmate. And he was like, dude, he had got an amazing journey learning about all these tools on how to actually develop and foster healthy relationships, and worked with a group called ISTA, the International Shamanic Temple Arts, that do incredible work.
Wow.
So I was like, cool, sign me up. And I, paid quite a lot of money for this course. And I was like, I'm serious about getting into a relationship, and I'm serious about learning about how to do this. And the name Solo to Soulmate was like, cool, I'm on the 6-week journey from being single to like getting into a relationship, right?
Great name,
right?
Yeah.
Only to find out literally in the first session with this other group of guys that the most important soulmate that you have in your life right now is yourself. It's the person that you have to be in a relationship with from the time that you're born to the time that you die. And if that relationship is not healthy and you're not doing the work on that relationship as your own best lover, you will never attract a healthy relationship. And so that 6 weeks literally like transformed and was so healing, bro. And there were so many amazing exercises and work that we had to do. And for me, a lot of it was going back and closing loops from all the emotional relationships and ties and spiritual contracts and energetic contracts that I'd opened up with these people, not even realizing that I was carrying all this baggage with me, bro. And so I had to go back in the hose pipe and block up all the holes and get forgiveness and ask for forgiveness and forgive myself. And
you're not really ready until all those energetic pieces are closed out, right?
Correct, bud. Correct.
So you're keeping the door open energetically.
Yep.
Universe knows.
The universe knows, Brian. So what's in the past that you haven't yet dealt with fully shows up now in your present.
Yep.
And those are the triggers, and those are the things that blow relationships up and make you make silly decisions. But it literally was not 3 months later that Andrea and me came back into each other's field, because we had done work before together, and she was married. And when we first met 2 years prior, I was in a relationship. So we were just, platonic. Like I didn't even see her that way. But literally 3 months after this course, once I had really started to feel good about myself and felt full, and I wasn't looking, I wasn't desperate, I was completely content. We just came back into each other's lives, and here we are 2 years later with a little boy and living in a beautiful spot here, and couldn't be happier.
So incredible. What a blessing. It is so true. You see that all the time with people looking, right? Like I always tell people, maybe don't look as hard. Be open to receive, but focus on this, right? Like if you're investing in yourself and you're getting yourself to a really good place, it's going to come in.
Yeah.
You're going to attract it. It's going to be a magnet. I think people are so focused on trying to grab and get and
I
chase.
need that. I want that. You have that, like, oh, you can fill this part of my life. You have the money, you have the looks, you have the whatever. That's a mistake, bro, because you attract what you are. And I think that was the biggest lesson. It's like you attract what you are. And until you are full and content yourself, you're not going to attract another full content person.
Yes.
And if two wholes come together, then you can develop something beautiful together, because you're no longer dependent on each other for the thing that you don't have.
Yes. Do you find there are still challenges even with two wholes coming together?
Yeah, but I mean, relationships are like that, right? I would say far less probably than the average person that hasn't done this kind of work. And it helps that Andrea is also so very self-aware. And we're good at calling each other out, or being able to at least express ourselves when stuff comes up that we've seen in maybe behavior or whatever, that we get to talk about it and have the wherewithal to modify if it's needed. But also, like, that's part of the growth. A good partner will allow you space to continue to develop and get better at what you are, without the toxicity, without the unsaid stuff, without the judgment side of things. I feel like we both accept each other for what we are, and we love the fact that we have our little quirks and whatever. It's part of the attractiveness of it. And it feels like we're both willing to want to make each other happy.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
To do our best for each other.
Yeah, I think that one of the challenges is catching the triggers, right? And not going into a reactive state. I think in certain moments we're going to get triggered, right? When we're dealing with our own things, or maybe there's a past little trauma wound that was touched or poked, or maybe there's a little finger goes a little too deep into that wound. But pausing, I think that's something I've been working on a lot lately, is actually making sure I pause in that moment when I feel the trigger come up. Because when I'm triggered in that state, there's more of the reaction. And the reaction usually causes something we don't want.
Yeah.
If I can just pause and come back, I'll be in a way better state of mind to actually deal with that trigger and deal with the situation. Here's something nobody told you when you turn 30. Your natural growth factor starts to decline. And that's the reason your recovery feels slower, your sleep feels less restorative, and your body just doesn't bounce back the way it used to. It's not in your head, it's cellular. Bioprotein technology is built around fixing that. BioPro Plus is a growth factor and amino acid formulation designed to work at the cellular level, giving your body the signals it needs to utilize hormones and nutrients effectively. Not just throwing more protein at the problem, going after the root cause. I literally just turned 30, so this one hits close to home. Check them out at bioproteintech.com. Again, that's bioproteintech.com, and use the code TheSchumanShow30. That's TheSchumanShow30 at checkout for $30 off your order.
Yeah, that helps a lot. And if you're able to do that and just say, hey, look, that has triggered something in me. We need to come back to this. Yeah, that's super helpful. Yeah. I must say, like, one of the things early on that Andrea really was very different to any other relationship I'd been in before. She got to, like, read me, right? She's like, you're an Aquarius, you like change. And when I was, sharing my previous challenges in relationships, she was like, anytime you feel like you're stuck, anytime you feel like someone's forcing you where you are, that part of you that wants freedom overrides everything else and you eject. Her knowing that allows me to have my freedom. There's a moment of go do your thing. All right? You need that trip by yourself, because that part of you doesn't want to feel like you cannot do it. Because if you tell me I can't do something,
you're gonna want to do it
chances are
even
you're
more.
coming off second best, because I do want to do that thing.
Yeah.
So that's been super helpful. And then the other thing she said to me, which was like new, was like, hey, listen, I love you for now. I can't promise you I'm going to love you forever, but right now I give you everything that I've got.
Wow.
And just knowing, like, oh fuck, okay,
I like that, because that's almost like you got to be the man that she'll always be in love with, right? Like,
right.
If you're being an ass, then she might not love you like she did when you weren't being an ass.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love that for everything in life, because nothing is forever, bro.
Nothing.
Like my grandmother, Lola, had the saying, never say never, Because you may think you don't want to do it today, or you don't see it that way today, but in 5 years from now, that might be the very thing that you say yes to. So never say never. We change. And
Be open to all the
Be open to all the possibilities. And never say forever. Because life is not made that way. Everything changes. Everything breaks down, including relationships, including your belief system. How you think about life today is going to change. Your construction of your world will break down, and you will develop something new and different. And so those two things, never say never and never say forever, bro, is just such a great, I like to dance with those two things, I
love that.
Keeps me open. And also in our relationship, it keeps us on our toes, because hey, what if this thing is not forever? You fall out of love, let me know and we'll deal with that.
Being open to all the possibilities.
Yeah. What's your feeling on marriage?
I think there's a lot of beauty in it. I think it's a form of devotion, right? You're devoting yourself to a person through this ceremony that's been going down for a long time. And, there can be financial commitment and all that. I get why people have a gripe with it now. I understand that. And that people don't choose to do it. Totally cool with that too. But I think there is a lot of beauty in it.
So when you say forever in that ceremony,
yeah,
and you've seen your friends do it, can't wait to spend forever with you.
My parents, right?
2 years later, they divorced.
Yeah.
Where do you think the breakdown is? Why do you think it's so hard when we make that vow to each other?
I don't know. That's a great question. I would assume it just gets to the point where people don't want to put in the work anymore. They're making a conscious choice of I don't want to continue to work on this relationship anymore. They're okay with that in that moment. I don't want this anymore. I know I said I wanted it. I know I committed to it forever, but I don't.
You signed a contract.
Yeah. They're not willing to put in that work anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if we take it seriously enough anymore. I think people get married because it's what your parents did. It's what we've been doing for eons. It's this institution. You fall in love, you get married.
Yeah.
But I think when we say those words, we don't really understand what we're saying.
Well, look at divorce rates for sure. In this country particularly, pretty high.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
I remember my grandparents, they were married their entire, pretty much from the time they were maybe 24. My grandfather got back out from the deserts in World War II. He must have been about 23. Spent 3 years in the desert, bro, fighting the Germans.
Jeez, that's insane.
And came back, they got married and were married. They had 6 kids. And I remember one of the last dinners I had with them before they passed away, having one of those real nostalgic moments. Granddad, tell us, how is it that you've managed to stick it out, so long? And my granddad said, don't be fooled. Your grand and I have gone through some very dark times in our relationship, but one of us was always willing to fight for it. So even when I didn't want to be married anymore, Gran did. And moments when Gran didn't want to be married anymore, I really did. And so we carried the weight and the burden at different stages throughout the whole thing. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So I think it's fuck. As long as both of you aren't at the stage where you both want to blow it up at the same time, then you should be okay.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's a choice every day, right? Whether you're married or not, to be with someone.
Yeah.
It's a choice. It's a conscious choice every single day. It's not just this is actually now, after you just sharing that, this is where I think people fall into a trap. They think just by getting married, they did it. It's forever. No. It's every day. You still got to choose each other. You still got to fight for the relationship. You still got to fight for the relationship with yourself to make sure you're in a good place to show up in the relationship. Yeah. All that takes so much work, and that never ends. If you stop putting in the work, then the relationship's not going to work anymore. Even though you got married.
It reminds me of my friend Ali. She's done this with her partner.
Yeah.
They also never say forever, but they consciously at the end of every year, they give each other a review. How did you do this year? How did I do? How am I showing up for you? What are your desires? And then they'll be okay, do we enter into our contract? Do we still choose each other for the next year? But if they both decide, yes, I still want to be in this, then they commit to a full year of giving everything attention, and they write down what my needs are, what my desires are, what changes I'll look in, what will make, and then that's what they work on for the year.
Love that.
Knowing that at the end of the year,
they're gonna have to do it again.
They're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kept them both very honest and both like, also the checkpoints along the way. It could be useful.
Yeah, we've been doing couples check-ins now.
Nice.
Yeah. Monthly. We've slipped a few times, but it's a good practice.
That's very cool. Where do you do it at home or like over
Yeah,
dinner?
we've done it at park, we've done it at home, in bed sometimes,
Have you got criteria or just whatever's coming up?
We had a whole criteria. We felt it was a little long, so now we're kind of shortening it. It's mostly how are you feeling in the relationship? How are you feeling personally? Are there any boo-boos we got to talk about? Any things we want more of?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Those are good conversations to keep having because when you get comfortable, it's quite easy for those conversations to stop happening.
Just life just keeps going.
Life keeps going, man. Yeah.
Doesn't stop.
Do you check your whoop to say, hey, listen, my whoop is telling me I'm not sleeping properly. You're causing me grief.
Well, now that I'm on the aura ring.
The aura, there we go.
Shout out the aura. Okay, so I always end this podcast with this same question. If you could tell the younger version of yourself one thing in this moment right now, what would it be?
Yes, dude, there's probably a few moments in my life where I was like, dude, how did you not know that? That's a tough part, like, because you're only making decisions from the awareness that you have. And I'm like, how the fuck did I not know that, It would probably be my 17-year-old self after school to say, hey, if you really want something, God will always make it available to you if you really choose to stand in that, like to actually be adamant and not to give your power away at that moment to your parents. That you actually have sovereignty, even though you're young and even though you feel maybe you don't have the resources and that you're dependent on your parents, that something will come your way, but you just, if that's your dream, if that's what you really want, stand in that and have the courage to stand up to what you perceive as your powers of authority, to really be adamant on what you want. It's like moments in life where you've given your power away to someone else's decision. Stay in your power.
Stay in
your power. But yeah, those are the moments of illusion that you have to sometimes experience in order to grow from.
Yes.
And one of those illusions is that other people have power over you. It's just an agreement. You agree that somebody else is in a more authoritative place to make a decision for you and tell you what you can or cannot do. Obviously within moral boundaries, but
yes.
Yeah.
If you go all in, we can do anything. Doesn't matter the age either.
Yeah.
Anything is possible in this reality.
Right.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming
Dude,
on. I love you.
What an absolute
pleasure.
blessing and pleasure, brother. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We'll have to do round 2.